Hello and welcome to Trojans Live. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, and the new head coach of USC women's volleyball, just finishing up his still hasn't started his first season. He's waiting around like everybody else, trying to get his career started up again at USC. Has to be a strange start for you, Brad, to come in and just try to mesh, try to build your team and all of it without games yet, and still wondering when games will be played.
No doubt. Hi guys, how's it going? I wouldn't recommend starting a head coaching career during this time. It's not. I wouldn't say this is the most ideal, but it is what it is. I think the biggest thing for me was the fact that I knew both worlds, because my brother is an emergency medical doctor and he lived with me, or still does, and so I get to see both sides of this a little bit of wanting to push for sports and wanting to feel good and having a sense of normalcy, and then the reality that we're not there. And no matter what we talk about, it ain't going to happen right away, and we need to be very, very patient and diligent. So it's been an eye-opening experience for me personally.
Coach, speaking to that, what are you guys doing right now training-wise? What's the schedule look like for you guys on a day-in, day-out basis?
Well, the problem is like the Wild Wild West. Like half the teams, the SEC's playing half their matches, and the Big 12's playing most of their schedule. The Big 10's out. We're out for the spring until spring, and so right now it's about getting the kids back on campus. I think it's almost like a mini bubble, like the NBA bubble a little bit. So everything is very, very regimented and very patterned and very safe. I mean, it's extremely safe the way we're going through everything. So it's not college. It's like a training camp for, pro sports or a national team or whatever, where you're just kind of on your own for a little bit. And so we're trying to get them back. We're trying to get them back in shape. And then there's also the component of building team culture. And that's another added difficulty, shall we say, through these times, trying to do it through Zoom or on the volleyball court alone.
Do you have a timeline for when you expect to open the season, or is that still very much a work in progress?
Well, Jordan, I'm glad you asked. It just happened today that we got a shell of a schedule. Jeremy's going to be really excited about this. So our first match is going to be January 22nd, I believe, versus Stanford. So, yeah, we're going to come right out of the gates.
Well, this is your second tour of duty at USC. How does that help you, the experience you had at USC? So while not a whole lot has been normal, as you said, you're not necessarily having to totally get used to a whole new culture. You've been here and done that a little bit.
Well, we have a golf cart because we're on one side of the campus, and so we use the golf cart to get to the other side of the campus. Partly because we're lazy, but other than that, we still use the golf cart.
I wanted a golf cart when I was there too, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the golf cart I bought. So that kind of, it's like there's a lot of things here that are different, and a lot of things here are the same. My office right now, I look across the hallway into my office when I first started coaching.
Moving on up.
So it's super humbling and super random, and it's not how I would have drawn it up in any way, shape, or form. So I'm the only coach, I think, that's coached for, we call it the other school, but both schools on both men's and the women's side, which is super random, I think.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to talk about that a little bit. When you're coaching men's and women's, how are the styles of coaching different? Are there any differences? What are those things that you do as a coach when you're coaching your women's team as opposed to a men's team?
Well, there's a lot there to jump into. I get a lot of pushback because I don't think there's very much difference. And I understand that men and women are built differently and they have different strengths, and I get all that. But, we're about being human, and we're taught to dream, but then you're being categorized, but you're only allowed to do these things, or you're only allowed to do these things, and that's the way it is. So I just think that the coaches that are most successful use both the men's and the women's for whatever sports and find different styles and ways of doing things. So it's about blending it, and it's about eliminating the word can't.
You mentioned styles, and I'm curious about recruiting. We talk about expectations. We've been talking about expectations all night. Clay Helton deals with it a lot. This program deals with it a lot. Women's volleyball, every time I talk to their alums, this is not a, hey, let's just make the NCAA tournament. We had a nice year. Oh, hey, we won some Pac-12 games. This is a Final Four kind of program. Those are the expectations. When Sean and I were in school, women's volleyball was winning national championships and putting butts in seats. What are you looking for in recruiting to get the program to the level where you're meeting those expectations?
So there's a lot to this too. These are great questions because kind of when you look at someone and say they have a great arm or they're super athletic or they jump high or they're whatever, that's kind of like water is wet statements. And so you can go into that all you want and just get as many as you can. But if you don't get the right personalities or the people that embody what this program or this university is about, you're not going to make it. You're not going to win. You actually have no shot. You just don't know it yet because you're blinded by a shiny player that can do a whole lot. At the end of the day, this university is, I don't use the word special very often, but it is. It's the ultimate platform. And people have to understand what that means. It's the bright lights. And you either can or cannot handle the bright lights. But the bright lights will show who and what you really are. And so it's really, recruiting is about diving into figuring out who those kids are. And they're not always the best high school players, and that's something that gets very lost in translation. It just came out. I don't know if we can make it public or not, but we're going to have probably one of the top 2 recruiting classes in 2022. So our first recruiting class was an absolute home run. But at the end of the day, it's what the public says versus what we're actually recruiting. So the public thinks that we recruited a bunch of these kids that can play really high level volleyball, but I look at it more as we recruited some really in-depth, strong, gritty kids. And I think that that's going to be a whole lot more, or I hope that's going to be a whole lot more to the direction of where we want this to go. To bring back and put people in the seats and to win national championships, like you said, Jordan.
There you go, Coach. All wrapped into one. Last one for me, Coach. Speaking about recruiting, I got an 11-year-old daughter who's quite tall and plays a little volleyball. Just a heads up, not really a question, just a comment for you, Coach. Go ahead, Jordan.
I love it. I love it.
Just throwing it out there. I know she might fit the program. I'm just saying.
I think that's. Does she play club volleyball? I feel like they play club volleyball now at age 8. It seems like these days.
We just play in the backyard, Coach, and we just watch USC videos over and over again.
Good. Well, I can't wait for you to bring her by the games.
Yeah, we go by. We watch the game, so we'll be there.
Awesome.
When we can.
Yeah, I know, when we can. If we can ever do that again, which we will at some point.
There will be no butts and seats, no matter how well you play for now.
I know.
But, looking forward to that day for sure. Brad Keller, welcome back to the Trojan family. Looking forward. As we've said, this is really a premier program at USC, and Brad Keller knows that. Looking to get it back to those championship heights. Thank you, Coach. We'll have you on many times in the future.